This video is called The Coolest Tools Part 2, and it's the session 8 of the Introductory Series of Talks for Loving God's Way. It was recorded on the 26th of June 2019 in Pyrmont, New South Wales, Australia, and the speaker is Mathew Costin, and I am also assisted by Thalia Skopoulos. Now, this talk explores the third of the 4 coolest tools, which is truth. Living in truth and having a longing and desire for God's truth, for divine truth. A brief apology for the quality of the audio in this recording. We had a microphone malfunction.
So yeah, faith is a really important thing. Like, no one in this room, I feel, myself included, has any real awareness of how important faith really is. You know? The majority of what we do, the majority of the action that we do take is because our faith in particularly in God, in God's love, God's goodness, is fucking so low. So often we just go the long way around everything, the long way around, and we keep telling ourselves, if I just keep doing this thing, I'm gonna get it'll go this way eventually. And it's no, it's 2 different directions. You're like, no, it's not. I'm gonna keep doing this. This is what's gonna get me what I want. And we spend our whole lives doing that. Who's wasted fucking years doing that? Right? That's because of faith that you lost years of your life. And then we talk about faith last week and we're like, yeah, no, I'm cool. Faith is a big deal. What we have faith in now is so fucking important. It's like, you know how when I've been teaching acting, I talk about there's a difference between being compelled to feel and then compelled to actually take action. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Faith absolutely compels us to action all the time. So that lets you know how important it must be. If often faith is the thing that makes you get up, makes you go and do this, makes you go and do that. And if you don't investigate what is the faith that is driving me in everything that I'm choosing to do and feel and take action in, how do you know that so much of you don't know how much of your time and your energy and your focus is being wasted right now? Unless you really understand, and that's why Jesus was talking earlier this year about motivation. What's the motivation for everything that's going on in my life right now? What's the motivation for how I feel, what I'm talking about, where I'm going, who I spend my time with, how I engage people, what I choose to share, what I choose not to, the level of morality that I want to practice, the level of personal responsibility that I want to practice. It's so much of it is all to do with the faith that we have. And just for a brief recap, even though I've got truth up here, for ourselves now and into the future. Right? It's a big one. And because everyone in this room had terribly shit childhoods to at least some extent in different ways, most of what you believe is true for yourself now and into the future is going to be bunk. So you're okay, let's say 85-90% of every decision that I make is based on error. Is based on a false belief that I have that's true Like, no one would ever want what's really in my heart anyway. You know? No man will ever respect me. I'll never be able to find real love. I'm just a waste of space. I'm just a waste of space. I believe that's true for me, and in the future I'm always going to be a waste of space. How much is that, if you really have faith that you're just a waste of space, how much is that going to impact your action? How much is that going to impact what you're attracting? Honestly. Yeah, I've been feeling quite a bit about faith this week, actually. Yeah, I wanted to really get just more and more real with myself about what my faith is, and taking action, avoiding some action, going back, being like, search. Okay, now, now I can re-engage because I've missed an opportunity, something like that. Yeah, wow, I've done a lot of avoidant action this week. It's a lot of like wanting to live in a fantasy world. But yeah, luckily I can do the talk tonight because I kind of really just decided I need to burst that bubble and just get real. Often we feel so terrible about what we have faith in. So terrible that we'll do almost anything to avoid having to feel our faith. So often we'll become aware of what our faith is, you know? And like, I remember we had talks like, you know, like, I'm never going to love myself anyway, so what's the point, right? You used to have a faith that was true for you, didn't you? Yeah. And how much did that influence your action?
Not much. I'm not gonna lie.
A lot, right? You know? And how many opportunities in your life have you missed out because of that one feeling, that one faith inside of you?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot. Yeah. And now that you don't have that so much now, and you don't feel that that's necessarily true, that because you do have some love for yourself, and you have faith that you can get more, right? Yeah.
So much more.
So how's that changing your life at the moment as a result?
A lot. It's good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
How's it changing how you engage in relationships?
Struggle on that a bit, but doing better than I was before, so just accept all the little things that happen, you know, instead of avoiding them like I always do, so yeah, it's been really good.
I'm really glad. Okay, so, we had a bit of a chat about faith. Does anyone have anything that they want to discuss about it before we move forward and start talking about truth? Or any question? Yeah.
So it's really interesting because last week was very confronting, and I think I was very avoidant, and I was just like, man, I'm still up to like week 3 and trying to catch up all these different topics and all these different tasks that we can engage in week on week, right? But it's interesting because I was reading the Bible with my cousin yesterday actually, and I completely forgot what the topic even was that we spoke about last week. There was faith, and when I was looking through what our homework was for like this week, I was like, oh man, I haven't done that, and then today, but we read one of Jesus' parables. Not a parable. It was a story of how he was, after preaching in a boat. I don't know if you know this one. They were sailing and they came into a storm, and all his disciples, all his apostles, I don't know if they're disciples, whatever, at the time were freaking out, and then he was just chilling. They're like, Jesus, bro, like, aren't you scared? We're gonna die, man. Like, what's going on? And then he was just like, are you guys still not faithful? Like, where is your faith in God? And I feel like this is in that connection where I want to get to a point where no matter what comes to me in my life, whatever happens, that I'd have that much faith in God and God's love that I wouldn't have that fear. Is that what we're aiming for? I guess.
That's definitely part of it. Cool. But actually, like, it doesn't just remove faith, like having positive faith doesn't just remove fear about what's going to happen to you. It removes fear, like it stops fear from and doubt from being the dominant thing in terms of you engaging with you, like your soul, your personality, developing your qualities, engaging your passions. Faith transforms your entire life. You know? While that was, by that stage, I'm not sure if Jesus was at one with God when that happened at that point, but he'd learned enough about, I'm sure he would have learned enough about God to understand all these different laws that God has, and that God has only good intentions towards him, and he would have understood how the law of attraction works as well. So it's that's one of the big things as well. As we get some more of these truths, about God's qualities, God's laws into our soul, you know, faith is fushka. Yeah. Who did some investigation into God's nature at all this week? Yeah, cool. We had a little bit of talk about the feminine side of God, right?
Yeah, I tried that this morning, and then I realized that it's actually my mum's spirits trying to
shut you down,
comfort me. I felt because I was asking I mean, you're supposed to have a feminine side, God, but I don't know what your qualities are, and I just was asking of show me your feminine qualities or whatever, in some kind of way, because I can't sense it or feel it.
And these are some of the most important conversations we can have with God. Please show me who you are. You know? And for someone who hadn't even really began having any kind of conversations with God until quite recently, that's awesome that you're doing that, you know? Been so many times I've been are you really my mum? Are you really my dad? Do you really love me? I don't feel that you do. Do you really care about this? Do you really, can I trust you? Can I rely on you? Because I feel this. And a lot of toing and froing and being God, I feel this about you. And I feel this about life. And I feel this about myself. And then sometimes getting so desperate that then I'm finally and we'll get to that today when we talk about truth. We'll move forward to truth now and then just asking God and being begging, please give me your truth on this, because me being in I've tried it, I've looked at it every fucking direction that I can, every angle, everything. I've explored the dimensions of my error so much, and I'm in so much agony here.
Yeah.
And I'm just I've got to the point now where I have some desire to now get your truth, because mine's just causing me misery.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just I give up. You know, and the sooner that we can get to that point on every issue, the better. You know, and there comes a time in the career of every person particularly in the spirit world, this happens quite a lot, people who become earthbound and after they pass and become quite aggressive and quite malevolent, they get to a certain point where they exhaust themselves of their unloving, malevolent, malicious, sinful behaviour, and the pain just gets so bad that finally they're just I give up. Right at that moment, at that very instant, there are people there sent because of God, because of God's desire, because of God's love, and the desire that they have inside of them just to be of service. And they've been waiting years for this moment often, decades even, for this exact moment to finally come to fruition, where they can finally be there and then take that person and help to nurse them as they begin this process of to begin with, a lot of the time, compensation, to feel through the compensation without taking more harmful action, and then eventually to start engaging repentance, the process of repentance as well. And really, the best thing that we can do is do that here, is get to that point here, is to sensitize, and we'll talk about humility, we're going to talk about emotion and humility today, to sensitize to the point that happens earlier. I remember asking Jesus about it a few years ago, because I was oh God, because he was explaining that eventually what happens is the pain gets worse than the fear of change. And when the pain becomes worse than the fear of change, you will change. I was like, oh, I just feel like I've got like so much like resistance. You know, like how much pain is it going to take? It's like, well, maybe you might want to sensitize. Like, why go for the infinity? Why not just like have that happen sooner rather than later? And, you know, and the 4 tools are what we can engage to assist us for that on every issue to happen faster and faster, and then eventually we're going to get to a point in our career where we go, enough is enough. I've experienced enough sin. I've been through enough sin now that I want to change wholly, like not wholly, but WHOLLY, wholly. Like I want to change completely now, and I do not want to engage sin anymore. And no matter what comes up inside of me, I'm going to feel it, and I won't take sinful action anymore. And I don't want to harm myself, and I don't want to harm others. You know, and like, you know, for any person to get to that point, oh, it's a miracle. It's such a beautiful thing, you know. And that's, I think, really, it's probably like for the most part, someone sort of not even really getting that far up, like it's only the first few spheres. I think that kind of happens to an extent, where a person has like, if they're growing God's way and they're having a relationship with God, that they just like, they give up the determination to continue down a road of sin. Yeah, I feel real passionate tonight. Yeah.
State-of-the-art technology.
Hey?
State-of-the-art technology.
That's it, right here. What's going on? Okay, so I'm going to actually go through some stuff, and I'll work off a sheet because there's quite a few things to get through, and we've got like just a couple of hours. Today I'm going to try and be more consistent with that. Yeah. Does anyone have any issues with it starting at 7 or 7:30 next week?
No.
Are you cool? Is 7 a good time?
Yeah.
What's your
Because like
preference?
I finished at 6 and I just remembered that it takes me quite a while to get home. It takes me like almost an hour. So
Right.
but it should be fine. Like
Would you want to
maybe
say 7:30? Okay.
7:30.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. Truth. One of the big commandments, right? Growing. Okay, so this is what I've sort of written down, and like we'll go through some stuff. Growing and exercising a desire for God's truth about everything, to experience this truth personally and have it enter my soul. Okay, so there's a lot in that one thing. So much in that one thing. Growing a desire for God's truth about everything. What's that mean to you guys? Growing a desire, or even what the idea, the concept of what God's truth is about everything.
I don't know.
So God's truth is like singular, right? There ain't no great it's just the truth about everything, right? So the factual, informational, but of an emotional basis, because it's going to enter our soul, right? Truth, the facts, the raw truth, the real stuff about everything. Money, sex, parenting, the environment, our passions, soulmates, animals, transport, agriculture, because God's like designed these plates that we're engaging in agriculture. We're engaging with plants, and we eat plants and we stay alive, and then water, and then there's the animal kingdom, and then there's the space all around us, and there's all these different technologies that we can develop and harness, and laws that we can, physical laws that we can discover. You know, all the truth about the spirit world, all the truth about interacting with spirits and stuff like that, truth about mediumship, that it's a possible thing, you know, and the big stuff that the soul exists, that God exists, and God is a soul like us. Big one, right? So God's a soul. Animals don't have souls. So God is a soul and I'm a soul. So we're the same. There's only one kind of, there's only that like when God's like, you're my child, he means it. Literally, we are his children. So there's infinitely loving, infinitely powerful, infinitely truthful, infinitely awesome being that we just have no comprehension of, like, and has a ridiculous amount of love for us, is actually our direct parent, right? Like direct parent. And we're just like doing all these ones to avoid, like fucking Matrix, like to avoid it, right? Because they're like, how do we, you know? And so often what happens is like we get to, like, the big stuff, the stuff that's really like, you know, to really have a desire to go after some of that truth, particularly truth about God, God's love, God's nature, God's truths, you know, God's principles that encompass her nature and everything she does. Like, to go after that's huge, right? It's big. So often we'll be to go, oh God, it's too big. I want to hop on. You know?
I had a hot dog yesterday.
I had a hot dog yesterday too. Tried a new sausage and I was disappointed. But yeah, it's like, see, like, often we're so terrified. We're so scared that we might be something truly amazing. And the potential that's inside of us is truly, like, potentially infinite. That we can potentially grow infinitely and become like our parent. In love, in energy, in ability, in knowledge. Like, I'm not saying to become God, but to move in that direction. You know? That's what she wants for us. I don't know, I have some faith that's what she wants for us. I don't know. Because I haven't experienced being at home with God yet, so I don't know. But I have some faith that's true. And I want that in my soul, right? Okay. So, you know, like, a desire, growing a desire for God's truth, and then I put growing and exercising a desire for God's truth. So how do we exercise a desire? We engage loving action, we engage truth, we engage humility, and we engage faith, you know? And everything that we can do really kind of, in some kind of way, fits under those things. Anyway. Right, cool. Cool. So if I want to get this truth into me, you know, there's it's not like it's a closed path. It's a wide open path. It's up to us if we want to engage it. Yeah. It's a confronting conversation, eh? Right. To experience this truth personally. So you can hear it, you know? You can hear it, you know? It's like someone walking past and being like, oh, by the way, you're gay. And you're like, yeah, fuck you. Right? You don't know. Someone tells you something, right? Like, you know, like, let's go like 800 years ago, and someone's like, that's a giant ball of gas in the sky. And it's on fire. And it's like, probably more than 1 million times bigger than our planet. And you'd be like, you cook them and burn you at the stake, right? You know, like, you heretic, like, you, how dare you blaspheme God? God's like, it's the truth, but not back then, apparently, according to people, right? So, how do we, so we hear things and then it's just intellectual thing that we've heard, right? So then how does it go from that into personal experience? So someone comes along and says, you're gay, and you're like, I don't know. Well, then you're going to exercise a desire for truth about that. And then eventually, through working through all these different things, you're going to have an experience emotionally, and you are going to experience some things that eventually demonstrate to you beyond there is no more doubt. I mean, like, truth to truly enter your soul and then you to experience it. Let's say the fact that God, let's say the fact that God is gentle. And let's say Mummy's never gentle. Mummy was never gentle with me, so I have no real faith that God will be gentle, that any woman's ever going to be gentle towards me. So my faith is down the poop chute about God and gentleness, right? And then, you know, like, because of my lack of faith, so I've heard, someone's told me God's gentle, so I've heard the truth. It's been introduced to my soul, and I'm like, no, don't want to engage it, right? And then over a period of time, I go through this stuff and I'm processing all about my mum and how she wasn't gentle towards me, etc., 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 right? And then eventually, I start to open up, and then I'm like having this desire. I'm like, are you gentle? And then eventually you experience all these gentle feelings and gentle emotions coming from God to you. And eventually all of your feelings about Mummy not being gentle to me are completely released from your soul. And then you've received the truth that, you know, that God is gentle. And now that exists in your soul, and you've had a personal experience of it. So I'm talking about that on every single subject. Does that make sense? So that's what the first one is all about. That's what I mean. It's like the truth entering your soul emotionally. So even just it entering your soul emotion is going to be a very emotional experience, like it's full on. And then having a personal experience of it, because until you have a personal experience of it, it'll just be faith. You won't know. Yeah.
Can it work the other way around? Like, say you get the experience that that's the truth, but because you don't have faith that that's the truth, it doesn't really, like, stay in you?
Yeah. Yeah. So what we need to do is emotionally release the error. So then there's fertile ground and open ground available for the truth to be received and then be experienced. So we got to work through all the blocks to get to that. So truth, a passion for truth, a desire and longing for truth in my heart, and it's a process, you know. Like I have pretty high faith now that, I don't know if I'd say knowledge or faith, I don't know which one I'd say really. No, I know that I think I said this last week, that any question that I have, I know that God will bring me the answer. He will bring me the answer, and He already is bringing me the answers. I just don't want to see it a lot of the time. He will bring it to me. This is a universe of truth, of abundant truth. Actually. So I have some experience of that now. So that's one of that. And what will happen is over time is you'll have certain experiences, particularly with God, which will become like a bedrock of how you grow, because you just know it as a certainty now, right? And when you have something that you know, or you have really high faith because you've had at least some degree of experiences with it now, and you feel like, yeah, this is pretty reliable, pretty trustworthy, you are going to, like, your life is going to be changed and molded around that. And that is slowly over a period of time, truth entering your soul. Does that make sense? Cool. Right. Number 2, a passion. So I'm going to talk about like lots of passions that you can develop, right? Like a real passion about something. Who has at least some kind of passions about different things in their life? You know what passion feels like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it's burning, like it's alive, it's electric, and it's like you're super enthusiastic about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I put for all of these a passion. A passion for honouring God's truth over your personal truth. So what does that mean?
Would it be like not only intellectually understanding it and having that experience of this is what I believe is true, and then seeking out what God's truth is, understanding that, having that experience, but then being passionate about God's truth, not your truth.
Okay, yes,
What
that definitely is part of it.
Yeah.
I think there's a really good example that I might ask you to relate, Faye. Because like just about what happened on the train, because this is a perfect example of you honouring God's truth over yours. Because you were on the train and you were being affectionate and intimate with Nikki.
Yeah.
And then what did a guy do to you?
Basically judged and attacked us.
Judged and attacked you, right?
Yeah, for being gay.
For being gay, yeah. So it was a homophobic,
Verbal
and emotional attack.
Homophobic attack, yeah.
Yeah.
A violently, emotionally one.
Yeah.
Very angry
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Projected a lot of rage at us for being
Yeah.
intimate,
Yeah.
being gay, being too female. Yeah.
Mm. And so what was Faye's truth right at the beginning? What was Faye's truth? Attack, right?
Yeah.
I should be allowed to attack. Someone treats me bad, I have to stand up for myself, or whatever your truth was, right?
Yeah. It was a terror, like a terror that got triggered in me of being attacked, and then my initial what I go to is to attack back.
So your truth is, if someone makes me terrified, I'm allowed to attack them, and it's totally fair for me to attack them. So because that's what Thalia's emotional feeling was, and her immediate response, that lets her know that feeling, that truth, that personal truth is sitting inside of her. So what most people on the planet do, they go, oh, personal truth, yeah, I feel it's true, this is my truth. Who's heard that? This is my truth. It's all over the planet, particularly in like New Age circles, right? My truth is like this, like it's like everyone likes talking about, well, this is my truth now. I'm just letting you know my truth. And it's like, so what Thalia did, what did you do there? Because you wanted to get angry, but what did you want your personal truth?
No.
What did you do?
I went, whoa. I recognized what I was about to do, and I said, no more. I don't want to do that. Like.
So whose truth were you acknowledging and honouring in that moment?
More so God's truth. Like about, it's been more loving to just feel what I'm feeling.
So what did you do?
I just sat there and allowed myself to just feel like attacked and judged and humiliated and scared and hurt, So I just allowed myself to feel, just to sit in what I was feeling rather than take the action that I was going to take.
Yeah. That's a great example. Does that make sense, guys? So very, very often, and that's why, even knowing some of God's truths just sort of intellectually, and you've been feeling about it a little bit and stuff, even that can be really helpful, because you come to an intersection, you come to an opportunity moment, and it's either I go, whoa, right down into the depths of my truth and engage and take action based on my truth, or I go, that's what I really want, but I have some faith that, I'm going to exercise I'm going to honour your truth, God, here. Because I know your truth is it's unloving to punch someone in the face. So I want to punch him, but I'm not going to punch him. I'm going to instead honour your truth. And this is a part of humility, I feel. In terms of, you're willing to be humble enough to acknowledge that God knows more than you do, and God knows better than you do. and developing a willingness to be led by God, because that is what God wants to do for all of us, is to lead and guide us and to teach us. Who's tried to teach a person who didn't want to be taught before? Yeah, it's really it's pretty darn near impossible, right? So it's up to us to do that. So yeah, a lot of the time when we use it, it's my truth, as a defense against doing whatever the fuck I want, even though we already have heard what God's truth is on a subject and we felt some kind of an emotional resonance with it. Yes, thank you.
Just with that, I don't feel like growing the humility yet to do that to that extent. Like for me, like if I get angry, and I just sit there in that anger, like, but I'm still in a way projecting it to the person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like,
yeah.
So just because you have an action, that doesn't mean you're not like.
Yeah. Well, you're honouring God's truth to the point where you're not verbally and physically attacking that person, even though you might want to. So that's good. So that's a movement in the right direction. But then that's as far as you want to, in that situation, that's as far as you want to honour God's truth. As that you're willing to honour God's truth. So then have the argument with God.
Yeah.
I think like also the moment you start just owning that you're angry and that you want to do that,
yeah, then
you stop the projections.
You stop the projections, yeah. But it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. Number 3, a passion for you not to gain truth alone, but for God to directly become your primary educator. Who likes being dependent on the world and different people to get their information and their truth? To some extent. No.
Yeah, still
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. So, who... Let's say you have a passion for ice cream, right? Let's say you want to make the most amazing flavors that have never been created before, right? And you like, do you have a passion you want to make some ice cream?
Not to make it, but I mean, but thinking about it, man, that'd be, I don't know if I have a maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I was thinking like bubblegum rainbow or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, what's something that hasn't been done before, you know?
Yeah. So, what we could do, even on subjects to do with physical things, and this isn't something that I've really engaged much yet either, is we can actually ask God. We can ask God to become our primary educator on all things. So what does the world think about someone who's just like, I don't want to go to university, I'm just going to be taught by God directly?
That's stupid.
Hey?
Crazy?
Yeah, are you crazy? What are you doing? You stupid. Right, I'll look you up into
It's funny you went into like a Greek Italian.
That's not appreciated or approved of or felt or thought positively about at all in the world, is it?
Unless it's like theology. Like they
But even then, it's not. It's, did you study all the texts? How dare you voice an opinion about something you know nothing about? Very often. And that's like a reason why historically a lot of women have had their personal experiences of engaging a relationship with God completely dismissed by men in a religious context. So, our passion, for God to become my primary educator directly, and I'm not even talking about like through God's laws. I'm talking about it is based on some of God's laws, but like God tells me truth directly, like doesn't show me through the law of attraction, tells me the truth, gives me the truth emotionally, even intellectually, to something like, how I can get information from God about anything via my conscience. So I can receive feelings from God and then I'll have a thought about it and I'll be like, oh, I'll have a realization. You know?
Is it common, like, if you have connected to God, that like for me personally, when for my first time, like I felt like I got all that overwhelming feeling.
When you're
I
in the
got
church?
the truth. No, I got
Ah,
here.
yep.
And like I got the truth, and then like knowledge is coming through to me.
Yep.
Like faster than I can intellectually do.
Yep.
It's more emotional.
Yes,
And-
this happens very
But
often.
it does have like for me, I
Yeah.
remember
Mm.
two things popping up in my head when I was getting it, which was religion and like male stuff that's blocking me
Yeah.
from the truth. But
Yeah.
in that moment, he I felt like
He gave
me
you some
that
truth, right?
and then he gave me two things to work on.
Yep.
Like that I could remember out of like he gave me a lot of like info in that moment, but
Mhm.
the two clear ones that came like really strongly after it were those two things. You
Yeah.
know? So that can happen like that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You can receive like a lot, like you can receive a lot of things from God, and then you might not even know, like you might go through an emotional process, like as you receive truth from God, and it's going to be pretty beautiful and pretty amazing, and very overwhelming. And then, you know, you'd be like, la la la, go along in your life, and then a moment happens and a situation happens, and without you just know exactly what to do now. You feel what the right thing is to do. Or someone starts talking to you about quantum mechanics, and you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, cool. So does that. And suddenly you understand quantum mechanics. Like when some physicist is explaining it to you, like, yep, cool. Right. Like, you didn't do a course for that. You engage in a relationship with God so you begin to understand this stuff. So, this is part of truth. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is part of truth that's becoming one of our 4 cool tools that we can use, and one aspect of that is my passion for God to become my primary educator.
So in a way, like, you know, 50, 60 grand later after uni, like, you kind of feel like you were the stupid one.
Yeah.
Like, you could actually...
Like I refused to have enough courage to be like, I don't want to go to acting school. I'll just ask God to teach me how to act. I still haven't done that. I definitely asked God to teach me how to love. That's for sure.
He wants to say something.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I was curious to understand what your experience of that when you said you received all this truth and knowledge, if you don't mind sharing.
Mhm.
Like, what did that? Can you share what that experience was like, and like moments where I was like, were you emotional, and then all of a sudden all these thoughts just popped into your head, or like images in your head? Like,
yeah,
what was that? Because
I don't know, I think there was a millisecond of openness. I just felt really appreciative of Faye, and I was in the shower and I just go, thanks God for my soulmate, you know, for Faye, you know, and then in that moment I just felt this opening, and I just allowed that to continue to open, rather than what I usually do is when I feel it open, I shut it down, and then you'll just completely feel it just disappear.
oh wow,
But when I let it just go through, it just went straight through me, and I got out of the shower and it was still going, and then like just as I just started crying, because it was just too much, I needed to actually cry it out, the emotion that was coming through me. And then when I cried it, and it was a gentle, it's a beautiful cry actually, because it's like, it felt like when I described it, because we videoed me after, like she interviewed me, and it was just basically like, it was like a hug. It's basically like you feel this like hug that you can't explain, that hug, like it's like a, and then all I felt was all this fear just lift off me. I had no fear in that moment. There was no comprehension of fear at all in that moment. And then, and it was just like this one moment that you're having with God, and then suddenly, like, I had flashes of like, I don't understand why I don't feel this all the time kind of thing, right? And it just had these flashes of like religion,
Oh,
dad.
this is why.
Yeah, religion, dad. Were the two things that came through my head.
So
And I
one of
just-
the important things is Nikki actually asked a question and then got an answer. So continue.
Yeah. And it was basically boom, boom. And it was, the emotion was going so fast that you kind of go, what am I feeling right now? Like, you know how you're saying, so what does it feel like? The emotion is going so fast. Like, it's just channeling this emotion, like, so fast like that your intellect cannot keep up with the emotion. So your intellect can't go, all right, now you're feeling overwhelmed, and then you're feeling this, and you're feeling that. Like it can't comprehend it. It's like you're trying to put 64 gigs in a 32 gig disk. It doesn't work. It's not comprehending it. And then basically, as you're just, God will know when you're having enough, and like he'll start stopping it.
Well, you'll stop it.
You'll stop it, yeah, because there's too much there for you in that moment. And then, I was gifted, I feel like, with the flashes that he helped me go, okay, that's the area that's stopping you from opening this part of your soul, like.
Okay.
Yeah, and then even after it, like it was very like, I didn't have fear. Like I felt very fearless after it, like completely fearless. Like I was not scared of anything.
Mate, can you ever go through that experience, but at the same time not have that intellectual knowledge pop into your head, but there's something changing you emotionally, right?
Yes, absolutely. And then this happens all the time, and probably more often than not.
Yeah, okay.
But then you'll have realizations maybe in the minutes, hours, days, weeks afterwards, often. Where you'll just notice you're like, far out, I just feel different around certain people now, and I feel different in certain circumstances, and I'm lighter and more loving, and I'm not so dark, and I'm not so twisted, and I'm not so whatever, and like, I just, like, it's effortless to be more loving now.
Okay.
And like, yeah. Does that make sense? That was great, thank you.
No, that's okay. Like I was like learning, I'm still learning myself. Like that's what I'm saying with that corrupt face. Like you can get that information from God, and then you can like completely reject it and just go, I don't feel that, because that part of your soul is still closed. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. All right. So, a passion for challenging your reliance. Oh, we sort of talked about this a little bit. Right, but we'll go into a little detail with it. A passion for challenging your reliance on worldly sources of truth and truth. What fears are involved? And this is a big one. What popular errors do you wish to avoid having to be opposition to, both internally and particularly with the world? Right? So there are certain things, and you can ask God and you can feel God, and God's like, that's unloving. And the whole world's like, that's fine. How do you feel about that one?
I don't like it.
Yeah. But if you're engaging like a desire for truth, God's truth, that's one part of it, right? That I'm going to reject the world's version of truth when it doesn't coincide with God's. So what's the subject that fits that?
I don't want to be vegan.
So again, all right, great. So veganism, right? Yeah. So do you feel God feels it's very loving and kind?
I don't want to know.
You don't want to know, right? You don't have to. Yeah. Eventually, if you are exercising a desire and longing for God's truth in your soul, eventually there will come a day, one time, when you go through the emotions about it, and then you're sitting down for a meal and you're like, I'm sorry, Mum and Dad and whoever else I'm sitting with, this is unloving, it's on our plate right now, and I'm not eating it ever again.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the spheres where you're like, everyone here is loving, or like in a condition of love, or what would you call it? Like,
What kind of condition?
I like in like a quote unquote good condition of love, or whatever. Like you know, when you out of the hells or whatever the hell.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's say like at the top of the first sphere, like into the second sphere.
Yeah.
You're probably in an environment where you're unlikely to be like deliberately like viciously attacked by people who are in a condition like that. Yeah. So it's not a very bright condition still.
So like
the average person who's in that condition looks like probably over 100 years old, and their body's still a mess.
So like the fourth sphere or the heavens or whatever they call it, everyone's vegan.
Yeah. Well, there's no like food.
Okay.
Yeah, but no one is justifying the murder of animals anyway.
Yes.
No. Because one of God's principles is life. the life principle. You know? Because one of the things is actually that, like, does anyone in this room have the power to create a life? So no, right? Like the closest we can get is like if Kate and I had sex and sperm and egg came together.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
And then sperm and egg came
In that
together.
respect, we do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
in that
So
respect.
no, we don't. Because the sperm's already alive and the egg already has life in it, has the seed of life in it. Do we personally have the ability to take non-alive matter, like dead matter, and turn it into something that's actually alive?
No.
Exactly right. We don't have that capacity. And yet humans assume that it's totally fine for us to then turn around with a gift that exists that we have no concept about what it really is, and then take it away.
When you get to like the 7th or 8th speak, can you?
Can you what?
Like, didn't God bring dead back alive? Or not God, Jesus?
I've heard that.
No.
He didn't. No, because the cord was still
cord
connected.
was never broken.
Yeah. So that person.
He was still alive but
Yeah.
unconscious, so he just helped him come back into his body.
Yeah.
From what I
Fun
understand.
fact.
Yeah. I think that's what Jesus said anyway. So.
I was just learning.
Yeah. No. Sorry, I just got slightly lost.
We were talking about like, yeah, we can't.
Yeah.
We are unable to create life.
Yeah. So we're not able to create life, right? So we don't really understand what the gift of life is. And what it also means is if we mistakenly take a life, we don't have the capacity to then reverse that choice that we make. So if at a later date we discover that it wasn't so loving for us to do that, there's nothing that we can do. So if we're talking about repentance and correcting the effect of our sin, you can't correct the effect of having killed a person or an animal. It's gone. It's done and dusted. That physical being is dead now. You know?
But you can like, because I'm pretty sure AJ, like, the way he's repenting for the amount of meat he was eating and stuff, it's like restoring.
Yeah. So he's doing what he can, but AJ at this point anyway, AJ can't bring back alive the animals that he's killed.
No.
You know? No. And this is part of like, you know, when we're going through repentance, that with some things we just have to ask God to help us with that, because there are some things that we can't fix based on the choices that we've made. Yeah. So what percentage of the world is vegan? Like of the whole world, probably like 2 or 3% maybe. In Australia, it might be like 5, 6%, something like that. And it's getting higher and higher. Yeah. So, you know, like, for the most part, like if you choose that, you know, God's truth is that it's unloving to kill animals. It's just unloving to hurt animals for, you know, there isn't really a reason. There isn't really a loving reason to hurt an animal. You know? And the world's like, it's loving for us to eat what we desire. And God gave us these animals for us to do what we will. And we've been given dominion over the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. And dominion over the earth. And God approves of this action. And meat is tasty. And meat is blah, 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 blah. And eggs are blah, 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 etc., 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 right? So there's all this truth, right, that the world believes about eating animals.
Like, I feel like...
But is it really? You know? No. According to God, no, it's not true. So then in that case, like if we have a desire for truth, then, you know, at a certain point, every time that conversation comes up, every time that thing happens or something like that, we're going to be in truth about that. We're going to honour God's truth, and we'll happily confront any person, no matter how angry they get, no matter what they threaten to do, no matter what emotions my mummy and my daddy feel, because they feel so unloved by me rejecting and meat offering. Yeah, and I'm like, no, I don't want your meat anymore. And they're like, you don't love me, all this meat, but you love you. Yeah.
It's hard to tell them that I'm vegan.
Yeah.
It was actually hard to become vegan at first. Tried about 9 times with Maddie. 1 go with Faye. Done.
Yeah.
And that's just before we're dating too.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Mm.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that's an example of one, right? But then you want to start talking about transgenderism. Whoa. That's a big one. You want to start talking about abortion and IVF and war and justified murder and there's a lot. Sorry. Euthanasia, the monetary system in the world, sexuality in general is a huge one, self-defense. Like there's a lot of issues there's hundreds of issues now that like you are going to be in direct conflict and opposition to people that you love and the rest of the world. So what fears are involved in that, you know? And fear. What am I afraid of?
Losing those people.
Great. Yeah. So just feel about how afraid you are of losing those people.
oh,
Losing my Supreme Pizza might be a big issue. You're like, I love Supreme Pizza, I don't want to give up Supreme Pizza. Yeah,
Could gain it even better Supreme Pizza though.
yeah, you could.
Can you?
Could.
Yeah.
Could be like barbecue fake chicken. Because we make the shredded steak and that had Susie's food.
Honestly,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
never liked
many
Supreme
amazing
anyway.
vegan alternatives here.
Have you found
Yeah.
something that's as good as souvlaki? That's like you can do.
Yes,
Oh,
there
yeah.
is a vegan
Susie's is good. So
souvlaki.
the
There's a vegan
it good?
souvlaki. It tastes exactly the same.
Ah,
Mm.
maybe.
It tastes exactly. Okay, I'll take it to the vegan
is
market.
that I should be so lucky?
Yes.
On,
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
Sunday.
Jose's been there a bunch of times.
Have you tried it?
3. No, we haven't gone there. Where is it? Is
So
it there?
at the vegan market.
It's there. It wasn't there
Yeah.
last time, was it?
No, there was 1 or 2 sessions that there wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
the
gonna
vegan market is
continue
maybe
because
one
we've got
there.
to get through, guys.
Sorry.
That's alright. It's fine. Okay, cool. So, continuing a passion to apply God's laws and principles to everything that is happening in my soul and for every event that occurs to me. So something happens and I'm like, oh, apply the law of desire now. You know, because like I'm aware of the law of desire, I'm feeling this. God's truth is, you have a desire, you feel like it might be loving, take action. And then then I'm like, if I have a real passion to apply these principles and apply these laws and experiment with these laws, that's great. You know, that's part of having a desire for God's truth, is that you will. How does everyone feel about that? Every single thing happening in my soul, every single event that happens in my life, I'll be constantly actually applying these principles. I think it's great. I think it's amazing. I think it's the thing that's going to change your life. Everything that happens, I am always feeling about. I am always reflecting about God's laws and principles. You know, everything that's going on in my soul, everything that's happening in the world, everything that I see, like I'm always always law of attraction, cause and effect. What's this truth? What like it's a forever thing. That'll never change in me. It'll only become more refined and bigger and more amazing now. But you know, that awareness and that process is part of Matthew, the soul that I've grown into, that I'm becoming. Who likes to just switch off from that stuff sometimes and just like, for a very short, for a very limited amount of time, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Eventually you can't.
Eventually you can't.
Because you either get sick or something happen and
Yeah.
you just can't ignore it. And
Yeah.
like, alright.
Yeah.
I'll go back.
This one I feel like in particular is a really good one to print out and actually like, you know, read through a bunch of times and just let it like hit your soul, hit your heart, and just be like, wow. And it's okay, like one thing I want to be really clear about, it's okay to be like, Well, out of these, because I went from A to Z actually for truth. It's like 26 of these points about truth. So and you decide, two of the 26 I feel like I have some desire for. The other ones, like that's okay. That's fine. Like, you don't need to get down on yourself about it. These sessions are not set up to condemn where you're at, and for you to feel bad about yourself, to feel bad and to judge where you're at. These sessions are to demonstrate, wow, this is the potential of what is possible for me in my life. I could, if I grow the desire. Because I remember I was like, Jesus, is it possible for me to become at one with God, on earth? And he's like, that's up to you, man. I want it. I want to become that one with God. I want to demonstrate on this planet and for myself that it's possible. And I just want to be close to God.
Sorry, it's got a lot of them I want to ask, but
Go ahead. What would you like to ask God?
like, is it wrong for me to substitute God for Jehovah, like being brought up as a witness and stuff? Like, that's where I get stuck a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's right or not.
So basically, with what was the guy's name that created Jehovah's Witness faith?
I don't really know about that. but-
Okay, right. So
So
with
Jehovah is God, but we just don't title him as God.
yeah.
Still Jesus and all that, but like sometimes I doubt myself whether to like take all this on board because I don't know, like I'm betraying my own beliefs, and then I get scared if I keep doing it. It's not gonna help me.
Yeah, well, based on the Jehovah's Witness faith, which AJ was actually a part of as well, before he he eventually left and then afterwards realised, like, oh, Jesus. It wasn't like that. He was just like, oh yeah. It's not like that. This is a process. But yeah, so basically, the Jehovah's Witness faith believes, well, part of the teachings of the Jehovah's Witness faith is that this is Satan's dominion, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and any sort of spiritual religious truth that does not come from the faithful and discreet slave, which is like the executive committee that every year decide what God's truth is and whether it needs an update. Basically, anything that doesn't fit into those teachings are from Satan directly, like via this evil planet and via Satan's, and that actually, like, according to the Jehovah's Witness faith, they would feel, and they would state quite comprehensively, that what I'm teaching to you is actually Satan trying to take you away, and condemn you to a terrible future.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like that way. Well, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, the reason I bring it up is because it's either one or the other.
Yeah. And
Either that's 100. Either that is the truth, Hilton, and this is the working of Satan now, to try and pull you away from the true path, which is the Jehovah's Witness faith, because that's what the Jehovah's Witness faith teaching is, right? So either it is 100% that, or it's not that. So it's either truth or it's not a truth.
I always feel like I'm stuck at a crossroads and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was like scared to ask.
So what you can do is you can actually don't trust me. Ask God. You can call him. God doesn't give a shit what you call him. But when you believe that God's going to get angry at you, and that ain't God that you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Because God's like, well, I'm never angry with you. I always love you. It doesn't matter what you do. You can create a bomb and kill everyone on this planet. I still love you. I love you the same as I love all my other children.
Yeah.
And even after you kill 7 billion, 8 billion people, the moment that you start to develop a feeling in your soul that maybe this was the wrong thing that I did, and start to connect to that emotionally, God's like, yes, this is, that moment, that this is the beginning of the salvation of one of my children. This moment is huge. Like God's super excited when that happens. So what I recommend for you is to experiment. And experiment. And what I would recommend as well is to look into the teachings of the Jehovah's Witness faith and look for logic and love. Just look for logic and love. Look for because if you're brought up and you don't know too much about it, I recommend investigating it. I was recently in a short film which was about the Jehovah's Witness faith, so I investigated about it, and there were some things I found out. I was like, fuck, this is crazy, because I was just like, it's just so unloving. I was just like, wow,
Yeah, because I haven't studied since probably year 7, and I was hard into it,
Yeah.
And then in terms of events, life experiences changed, and then I just stopped, I just gave up faith, I guess.
A lot of people do. And the problem is, a lot of the time what happens is you come in contact with a religion, right? And you're like, oh, this could be truth, I don't know, what. And they do have some truth about God. They do have some teachings in their religion that is true about God. So you connect to one of these truths, and then you're praying, and then all of a sudden, suddenly there's this connection with God, and I'm receiving this love from God now. And it's this incredible experience, and God's right there with you, and you have this beautiful experience, and you're like, okay, right, that was definitely God. And so if I had this connection now with God, and I felt some faith, and now I have some faith, often what we do is we add 1 and 1 and 7 and go, it's a pineapple. What I mean by that is we go, so I had an experience with God, and I've been learning about all this truth from a religious source or a philosophical source, and this experience I have with God proves that all of this must be true then. Because if this religion wasn't the truth, God wouldn't have connected to me. So I have to have absolute belief and faith, and I have to absolutely obey this religion now. And then we run into all these different teachings that the religion has that feels terrible and feels unloving. And we're like, fuck, but I had an experience with God. I must be wrong. I must be terrible. I must be a sinner. I shouldn't do that. So we're honouring our version of the world's truth about God and what God wants us to do and what God wants for us, right? So we're like, right? One of the core things that's a real issue, for instance, in the Jehovah's Witness faith is, at the moment, part of their teaching is that there's going to be a group of 144,000 people who are chosen specifically by God to rule with Jesus in heaven, and then the rest of the believers, the ones who are true to God's teachings, are going to live down on earth. Already that's setting up that there are some souls, some of God's children who are superior to some of his other children. And I know for a fact that God never, ever, ever, ever treats his children, ever. He loves them the same, right? He really loves them the same. So for that, I'd be like, oh, shit. So because so then when I was learning about that, I was like, oh, crikey, I can't accept that about God. Yeah, but what happens is we just force ourselves, and then eventually our passion for the religion falls apart because there's we're suddenly overcome with doubt now. And who's experienced that with religious things and stuff like that? Hugely, right? And you're just and then it's not the way that it should be, and you can tell it's wrong to be like that, but everyone in the religion says it's good. But I can feel something, my conscience is and then the conscience is God being wrong, this is wrong, this is unloving. So God's not going to be angry at you for rejecting untruth about God. God wants you to apply logic and wants you to apply principles of love to what you're learning and wants you to experiment. Because as I said right at the very beginning, you have a personal experience of truth rather than just being told it, be like, can't eat shellfish. There's a Jewish family that comes to Iku where I'm working at the moment every day because one of their sons is petrified that if he ever eats non-kosher food that he, like that's it for him and God, like kaputski, right? So then they travel all the way up from Menai every single day and buy like a whole day's worth of all of this food because the Iku food's also kosher, and then take it back and then they eat it. Like every single day going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because there are other people who live in this house, right, who are not kosher. And this lady's son is so terrified that the food's gonna get mixed up. And that if it gets mixed up and it gets contaminated and he ingests that his spiritual condition's ruined. It's like bordering on some pretty full on like religious obsession there. But it's like.
So what's kosher?
Kosher means that it's
Is it
like.
halal?
Yeah, a little bit like it's like the
It's like
Jewish
halal
version of
Jews.
halal. Yeah.
Oh, so they do it for else something while they make it.
I have no idea.
It's like you can't mix dairy and meat.
You can't
Something
mix
like that.
the-
They have
the
two different kitchens
dairy
or
and
something
meat,
like
yeah,
that.
you have to have two. Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Whereas like God thinks eating meat at all is unloving. Well, knows that it's unloving. Yeah. And like with animal products, like the way the dairy industry is, it's terrible. And God's like, well, that's not very loving to do that. But then it's like, oh no, this is kosher, so I'm eating it, and I'm drinking it, and I'm doing whatever, and it's like against God's laws actually.
Doesn't even realize. Yeah.
Doesn't even thinks he's obeying God's laws.
Thinks he's obeying. Yeah.
But if you listen to his conscience about how his conscience feels about this, then he'd be like, oh, this doesn't feel so good after all. All right. So, a passion to get out of a state of denial, get out of delusion, and get out of the virtual reality world you've created for yourself. So, who's created like whole virtual reality worlds for themselves that they like 100% thought were real, like delusions about shit in their life, right? And we become deluded about the type of person that we are. We become in complete denial that we could be in complete denial that we have any goodness in us. We could be in complete denial that we have anything wrong with us at all. There are a lot of people who've murdered their own child through abortion who are in complete denial that it was ever anything unloving. And I read recently, I don't know who told me about it, maybe it was Jesus, I don't know, I don't think it was Jesus. I read somewhere, I don't know if one of you guys told me about it, but there was this lady who'd done a bunch of abortions, right? She'd done nine abortions, yeah? And every time she'd sail through, she'd go, oh, I got pregnant again, let's like, suck this thing out of me and get on with my day, right? And this is like, like getting into the second trimester. So, there's quite a bit of development going on
Are you
as well.
allowed to?
Hey?
Are you allowed to?
In certain areas in the world, yeah, you can do it. Yeah, and she's just like, yep. Cool. All right, bye. See you next time. Like, totally intending that it's like fine for her to fall pregnant again, and that it's not an issue, and it's just like just a bit of whatever growing inside me, a bit of, right. And then the last time that she went in for like the 9th or 10th abortion, she was like, because after sometimes it gets like cut up, the child gets cut into pieces, actually, when they get aborted. So it like, imagine you being sawn in half. How would you feel about that? And you're dull, your sensitivity is dull. Theirs is max sensitivity emotionally. Imagine like something coming into the womb in which you live and you already feel terrible because the mother who's been carrying you doesn't want you at all and wants to kill you. So you're already receiving emotions that I don't want you, I want you to die so I can have what I want. And then this like horrible thing comes in and like chops you up. Pretty terrible, hey? So then she goes, oh look, if it's possible, She's like, I'm curious. I just want to look at it, right? Well, she's just curious about it, right?
From from the
Like-
screen, or like actual like.
No, like I want to see what's in the bucket.
Oh my god.
Like, can I see what's in the bucket? And usually, and of course, interestingly, like in abortion clinics, they usually don't. Their thing is to take the tissue, the aborted tissue or whatever they call it, away pretty well as fast as possible, right? But no, like, so it doesn't happen, and so they say, oh, okay, I suppose you can have a look, and she sees that it's got hands, and it's got a little face. You know? Completely loses it. Completely breaks down and realizes she's committed 9 murders of people. The whole place had to, like, everyone just had to leave, like, she was inconsolable. She just screamed and, like, raged about it, and then was just sobbing for hours, and she wouldn't let anyone take the body away from her, and she went through a massive process of realizing what she'd really done. So she got out of denial. Not just out of denial, she went through more than just getting out of denial. Right? So when we're in denial, it allows us to do some pretty terrible things. Can you see why having a passion to get out of denials should be pretty high priority in our lives? Yeah. Yeah, I was around some cows one time, and I did some maths. I stood in a paddock with some cows around me, and then I multiplied the number of cows that would have had to die for me to eat all the meat that I needed. Just cow, pig, right? I just went through and it's like fish. Right? Chicken, like lots more chickens than cows, obviously, because they're much smaller, right? But trying to calculate, trying to get a sense and be like, this is what you demanded that someone else raise and then kill. This is your personal demand, and you're fine with it, Matthew. How much worse is it going to get before it starts to touch my heart just even a little bit, and I'm like, okay, now I'm coming out of denial. I can see that maybe this really is a problem. Sexual projection. Someone comes up to you and it's like, that really hurts when you treat me like that. And you're like, and you can still be like, fuck off, it's no problem. Get on with it. Or you can choose to get out of denial. So that one of the things that law of attraction often is attempting to do is to help you break that barrier of denial that you're in and get you out of your numb place and to begin to connect emotionally to the truth of what you're really doing and what's really going on inside of you. Does that make sense? So it's a big one. Often we live in a complete fantasy about who we are. Who knows people that are in an absolute delusion about who they really are? They think they're a completely different person from who they are. Right? It's dangerous to be that guy, trust me. I've been that guy. It's real dangerous. You don't want to go out living in the world and prosecuting your beliefs and everything onto the world when you're in that complete deluded state. Because you are going to cause so much harm, and the motivations that are really driving you are going to be complete denial of. If we love truth, and if we have a desire for truth, we want to get into that. So it could be like, God, can you show me three things today that I'm in massive denial of? And God's you are! You actually are! Yes! Right? God's so excited that we are asking for truth. We developed the beginnings of a desire for truth. That's what God wants us to do, is develop beginnings of desire for truth. And part of the beginnings of desire for truth is like, okay, what am I in denial of? Because I don't even know what I'm in denial of. That's what denial is. I don't know. You know? I'm like, for a while I was like, I'm in denial that I have any sexual rage. And then this morning I'm like, I want to fuck, right? And I'm like, I should be able to have sex with whatever, whoever I want. I can do what, right? Like, for like ages I was like, nah, it's spirits, bro. You know, like denial. Denial, like spirits influence me to have sexual rage. You literally like, you do all these like body contortions, you know, like these, like you stretch things in such a ridiculous way sometimes just to avoid, here's the truth, you know, like to try and make it fit, and then be like balancing on one foot with like plates balance, like spinning on your fingers, and you're like, see, look, this is 100% reliable, this is what truth is. We do this in our lives like all the friggin' time. And then it all comes crashing down, and we're like, don't look, I'll pick it back up. I'm like, I'll go again, I'll go, no, anything but just, this is how deluded we get, and this is how determined we are to maintain the facade to ourselves and to the world, but a lot of it when we're talking about denial, to ourselves. Yeah. Passion to get out of denial. It's a big one, eh? A passion for absolute personal honesty, sincerity, and transparency in everything that you do, say, feel, intend, your motivations, your faith, and your desire. In a specific, humble, and detailed manner.
Are you under that?
Yeah, I'll read it again. When I was writing this out today, I was like, oh, this is a doozy. This is awesome. Like, you know, like sometimes like when I'm like talking about this stuff, like I can be like talking and passionate, and then I'll have a moment, and I might even, like, there's been times that I've noticed one of you guys sexually, you know, and I'm like, ugh. How am I up here like wanting to talk about love, and then I just project it in that moment. I'm not willing to be honest about those things, and I'm trying to present a false version of myself. And to be honest, I'm not in a great condition of love. I'm not. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about, I am passionate about, but I don't have in my soul yet as a personal experience as absolute truth. I'm very much a messy, unreliable work in progress. Someone who has a good heart and a genuine intention to love, but has a lot of caveats still about what I should be allowed to get away with. You know? So please, guys, don't ever think that there's like that matters. Most of the time, I'm down in the dirt, you know, going through some real dark shit, or avoiding real dark shit by making more of it. You know, I'm sexually projected, particularly sexually projected a lot towards people, a lot in my life. Yeah. Both genders, all ages. Without remorse. It's been complete denial about that something. A passion for absolute personal honesty, sincerity, and transparency in everything that I do, everything that I say, everything that I'm feeling, all of my intentions. So what I'm intending here, what my motivations are, what I have faith in, and what I desire. in specific, humble and detailed manner. You could spend a year on that and change your life completely. You could pick that one thing and change your life completely. You'll be a completely different person. If you make that, just that, your goal. Like if you do that, that's basically, as far as I understand with Jesus to an extent, part of that is like the transition from the second to the third sphere of love. That's part of it. A big part of it.
Being in truth 100% of the time.
100% of the time. Being 100% honest 100% of the time. Never lying. Never manufacturing false things, and never doctoring evidence. Never doctoring the truth or minimizing certain elements of the truth. Presenting the truth as it really is. Yeah. I'm not saying your truth, I'm saying the truth that I just felt this. I just thought this. I did this because I wanted that. Etc., etc., etc. This is so, I think this is such a great goal. It's such a noble goal to actually have that as one of your goals. A passion for the law of attraction and its message of God's truth. You have a passion for some of this, I feel.
Oh yeah, it's obsessive.
There's worse things you could be obsessed about.
Yeah, it's like everything. Like I look at everything and I'm like I know everything in my area is not just here for no reason. It's almost like suspicion. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, what is it? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Why is that there?
Yeah.
Like it must be
Yeah, it
here
is.
for a reason.
It is, yeah.
So I'm like, yeah.
I had a cockroach today in my studio at work. What's this message?
Yeah. Yeah. I was like feeling about some guy that I like feel really quite drawn to in my soul. And then like today I was serving some other guy, he comes up and he looks at me for an extra like 2 seconds than people normally do when you serve him. And then I'm like, oh, and then I'm like feeling all, and then I'm like feeling a bit like, oh, there's a bit of blood going to the old penis there. And I'm like, like, oh gosh, and I'm feeling like, oh, I feel a bit attracted to this person. And then it's like, right when I'm in the throes of like starting to experience a desire for someone else, and I'm like, ooh. Okay, like what's, like this is the law of attraction here. You've attracted this person in this moment. And then you weren't even like, you just like tried to put on a fake face about it. I didn't even address that he's projecting something at you and you're feeling something as well, and that the conversation doesn't happen, So then afterwards I'm like, find this person, send them a message.
I've done that work.
So it's a big one, a passion for the law of attraction. Because often we look at we're at war. Who feels like they're at war with the law of attraction so much in their life? We're always at war with what life is bringing us.
Yeah.
That's like totally against God's design with the law of attraction. The law of attraction is already but even asking why is actually honouring the fact that there is a reason. Most people are like, fuck you! Like, I don't want this! I'm gonna be in control of everything! You can't stop it! Right, that's what we're usually like. We're like, I'm gonna get all the money in the world! I'm gonna have all the power! You will never... Like, yeah, you just wait till you fucking start connecting to some of this stuff and you're gonna be like, that's really me? Like I'm talking from personal experience, like I'm doing those things. But I'm not making it up. This is what I've gone through. Yeah. Yeah. A passion for realizing that all truth has positive benefit. Even hearing it intellectually has a positive benefit. So you're like, oh, it's unloving to kill animals. You're like already resisted to the fact that even hearing that intellectually has a positive benefit for your life, right? And this is one that I learned very early from Jesus, and it's something that I always come back to. The truth is always loving, and it's always emotional. Truth is never like block of ice, robot, like, meh, this is the truth. It's an emotional thing, because truth exists in the soul. Information exists in your brain, but truth is in the soul. Or not in the soul. Yeah. So truth, yeah, and then this is something I'm learning at the moment, is to change my attitude about being confronted with truth and stuff. You know, you really help with that sort of things. Okay, a passion for objective truth, no grey areas. It's only facts versus errors. Okay, so it's either fact or it's an error. You will stop attempting to negotiate partial truth with God. I at least did this little bit, God. Like I did something. Doesn't that count for something? Like I did it. Like I did that. Like shouldn't I be able to keep all this? Yeah, this is what we do. This is what we do with God. We try to negotiate about truth, and it's like can I hang on to that error if I talk about that one then? It's like, well, can I? Can I really? Like, God's like, well, you can do that, but it's not going to be good for you. Why are you trying to negotiate? I don't negotiate about truth. God doesn't negotiate about truth. So when we think we're negotiating with God about truth, we are not connecting with God. We are not being humble emotionally. You know, and we're in a state of denial and delusion. Yeah. Or gin, that's a big one, eh? What gin, I don't know. I couldn't think of a word in English that was like, this is a big,
I've seen that word before.
I've heard that.
What?
I've heard that word before.
Yeah, what ginger is it? That's a thing. Where is that? Where is it from?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of like not racist, but like indigenous people say it's like big word as well. I don't know. My ex-girlfriend used to always say it. I don't know why, but
So I know that like, gin's a bit of can be a bit of a derogatory term about an Aboriginal
yeah,
female.
it means like being black bitch. That's what that means. But like my ex-girlfriend always used to say to her little nieces and nephews, not like gin, but like, like it wasn't gin, it was like gin. It was like, to me, like what I got from it is like cute, but like I don't know if that's what it means, but like you know.
My thing is like, wowza palooza or something like that.
Yeah.
Why isn't you diggity? Like, isn't this a huge thing? Yeah. So we're up to letter K now in the alphabet. K. Oh no, that's the count. He does numbers. A passion to remove your blocks to truth. So your blocks to seeking truth, like seeking, even your block to seeking for truth, right? Your blocks to receiving truth, and the attitude that you have about truth, like God's truth in general. Who was always like honored, respected, and rewarded when they told the truth in their childhood?
But also the other way around. I was also honoured and respected and whatever if I lied as well, depending on the subject, according to my dad's law.
Well, that's not always.
But no, but like you're saying, like if I had to be honest, I'd be rewarded.
Yeah.
But if I had to lie for my dad,
You'd be rewarded. Yeah, as long as you weren't lying to your dad, right?
I felt more rewarded within myself because I did the right thing.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
I didn't care about it. Yeah, I just felt good.
Yeah, so, often if we were rewarded or, like respected and never attacked or put down for being honest about things, who had to lie for their parents at certain points in their lives? Well, I really tried not to. I really hated it. But often, like, who suppressed truth inside of themselves because of their parents' demand that we do it?
Families.
Hmm?
Families.
Yeah. I feel like it's particularly your parents as well. I feel like you're not looking at that one, honestly. Or you're not seeing it, I feel. How about the truth about your mum's unlovingness? And being in denial and suppression of that because your mum has a demand.
That's true.
Something that's dominated your whole life.
Yeah, true.
So like little Thalia was never allowed to speak up and be like, you're doing all these things that are
Oh,
happening to
yeah.
me. Even though you felt that it was happening.
Yeah, when I did, I always got mine.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
Get me back in line.
Mm.
To not. I am good.
Yeah. So then like we might be a person who has like an interest in looking for truth and discovering it but never actioning it. So we like, give me all the intellectual truth you can, guys, and I'll feel about it in my room with the door closed and a padlock on it, or I'm going to go on a sailing boat where no one can see me and I'll feel about some truth now. But like as soon as I have to engage with others about it, then it's like terror. Why do you think you got terror? Because you said, why did you did that, mummy, and mummy's like, poof, bloody knocks you off your feet, a slap in the face, Because you said something truthful, you're like, fuck, truth is danger.
Yeah.
And then I have faith, that truth is a dangerous thing for me. And that becomes an error that I maintain. That exact thing, I just realized that exact thing happened to me like heaps of times. I've like told the truth and then bash. You get violently abused for being in truth. So you're like, fuck that. And then when truth, like in your childhood, became even if it wasn't really true, that it was like the reception of truth was not a good thing. It was like or the reception of your parents' version of truth was just rammed into you. Like that there was no choice. You just had to accept their worldview about everything. And they forced it upon you and forced it upon you and forced it upon you and demanded that you come into harmony with how they see everything. So then you wonder why you have blocks to receiving truth. Right? Seeking, receiving general attitudes towards truth. Just truth as a subject. I really recommend going through and feeling about truth as a subject. I've received the benefit from it lately. It's been wonderful. Partial benefit. It's been great. Really great. And if you start to engage, what's my attitudes about truth? You're going to be on the train, there'll be this lady, she's smoking the e-cigarette, and then you're going to attract some events to help you with that. Because as soon as the desire ramps up, it's all coming. Like you don't, yeah. It's like a jukebox. If you put the order in the system, like the song's gonna play. Like it's gonna happen. Like you press the button, you get the song. You have the desire for some truth, you're gonna attract events. God would prefer that you just like listen to her specifically, personally, and receive truth from her directly. So you don't have to go through this attraction this, attraction that you could actually be like, well, instead of wasting so much time and energy and resources and experiencing so much suffering and pain, I'm just going to start to ask you for truth about every subject and then take action based on some faith that I have that you are good, God. And instead of having to wait for law of attraction events to continue to show me what the truth is here. I'll just listen to you, or even I'll just look at an issue and then I'll start applying your laws and principles that I've already learned. And I'll work through an issue without having to attract another event. I'll make it a priority. Can you imagine how God feels about you when you start doing that? When you start taking proactive action towards engaging more truth. Dealing with issues, not when they're forced upon you, but when you desire it. Because you want to be a loving human being. Like if you were a parent and your child started doing that, like taking that much personal responsibility for the condition that they're in and how they affect everyone around them, how much would you admire your child, and how much just wonderful feelings would you have for your little child doing that? You'd be so proud of them, I feel. Just be like, wow, look at my little girl go here, look at this my child. Look at what they're doing. How amazing is this? You know? I'm not even forcing them to. They're proactively choosing to try and get more truth in their
heart. Just through AJ's experience, he was like that as a kid in the first century, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't go really well with his parents, earthly parents,
No.
they didn't like it at all that he was being so proactive and so
Yeah.
responsible.
Yeah.
Would that happen here?
Try and find out.
I'm not happy to find out.
No, I mean but okay, so I see what you're saying. No, for Mary and Joseph, that wasn't their version of truth that he was engaging. That's why they didn't like it.
Oh, right.
But God was super excited, I'm sure. God would have been thrilled that Jesus was engaging it, and still engages it. How much would you respect your child for proactively choosing to cease taking unloving action in a certain area of their life? Because they felt like they had a feeling of responsibility and a desire to be loving. It's cool. Developing the will to love is a big thing. Okay. I'm going to try and get through these a little bit faster, and then we'll go on to humility because I don't want to go way over time. Sorry, guys. All right. We might even just do truth today. We'll see how we go. Right. A passionate attitude towards truth as freedom and empowerment. Does that make sense? Everyone's heard the thing the truth will set you free. It does. It does. Get in your heart, you're free. On that issue forever after, you got God's truth in your heart about sexuality, or you got God's truth in your heart about loving animals, or whatever it is, you are free. That issue can never cage you, can never make you feel not free again. You won't be hindered, you won't be bound by pain, you'll be free. You have absolute freedom. Often we're so frightened of because we feel like if I take truth in, then I'm not going to be free. Often we feel that if I learn more and more of God's rules, then my freedom's going to go away now as well. I might be able to just do whatever I want to do. You know? You won't want to do those things. But you'll feel free. From my own personal experience, I can say I feel so much free. I did not feel free before. Now I feel a lot more free now, so much more free. And you guys can see it in my personal expression of myself, right? You can see the freeness in me being myself, speaking, expressing myself, my creativity, my expressiveness, my passion. Clearly I've got some degree of some freedom there that I did not have before. And you particularly knew me pretty well a fair while back now. There's a big difference between the two.
Oh yeah. Matt was like huge mess when I met him. Like,
It's still a huge mess.
like no, but like even really like not reliable. Like, so he was really flaky. He was very flaky back in the day.
Yeah.
Like very flaky. Like he'll be
Yeah.
like, "I'll see you in 10 minutes. I'm just around the corner." 45 minutes later, like it's like I was around the corner, but like you know, this and this happened or whatever. And it was just like, you know, but it was so consistent that like even I'll be like, and he won't be here in 10 minutes. Like that's the kind of person you were back then.
Yeah.
And then like also like, believe it or not, Matt used to drink with me. We used to go drinking and stuff.
Yep.
Back
What was
in the day.
Matt like drunk?
What was Matt?
Just out of curiosity.
Hey?
He just laughs a lot.
I can
That's
see
it,
that.
basically.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, so he's changed a lot.
Yeah. You were quite flaky.
Yeah.
I know you were very flaky too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
How long
Not
ago?
true to your word.
No,
You weren't true to your word.
no.
A lot at all.
That's a bit weird too, even stay at work.
How long ago? Was it like 4 or 5 years ago sort of thing? 'Cause-
2014, 15, we were drinking together, I'd say. And then there was a time when like I completely stopped drinking, and he stopped drinking for a while too. But there was one occasion that like he even texted us one day that when he was living here, he goes, "So guys, I've drunk a bit, so I'm gonna stay out a bit until like I sober up and then come back or whatever, because the rules you can't come intoxicated now." So that was just once, very rare time. But yeah, a lot of like we spent a lot of pulse years drinking together.
Yep.
Like that's
Yeah,
not social.
I think the thing that really became a big catalyst for the, like, because I grew a bunch. Because what will happen is you're going to get through the subjects that you have the least resistance on. You're going to mow them down, baby. You're like, oh my God, it's growing. Woo! Yeah! God's awesome! Woo! And then you get through like the ones that you're pretty reasonably willing to deal with, and then you run into the ones that it's like that you really don't want to give up, and you are so invested in it, and it's like detour. You just like, and then every time you approach it, you're like, oh, detour. Like you just like, and then you know, I spent like 3 years, almost 3 years at Pulse. Not completely degrading, but in certain areas definitely degrading in love. Like really pretty severely. And just sort of like a complete shutdown, complete addiction, complete denial. You know, this is someone who's learned about God's laws for a while. Like completely like went away from God's truth.
Yeah.
In a big way. You know? And then I developed some feelings, feelings of love for Bede. And then when I started to see that I was affecting Bede in a damaging way, that was the thing that really became a big catalyst for me. To be like, well, I refuse to allow this to happen, and I refuse to allow this person to be affected by me in an unloving, negative way. And then I started to change, and then I also had a lot of feedback about how unloving I was being to myself, and how unloving I was being to my sisters living here as well, and stuff like that as well. So there was like just a lot of things that I was avoiding. Still am to some extent with a lot of things. But yeah, then you know I started to develop a desire to love myself. But yeah, you know. So I'm not saying that you guys are going to fall off the bandwagon and disappear for 5 years. Don't be me. Don't make the same mistakes that I made.
It's very interesting that you said that. I'm trying to like piece together the timeline, right?
Yep.
And like
So
of like when
I
I
found out about Divine Truth in 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Almost a decade ago now.
and like
Yeah.
time like when I first met you, then you're like, oh yeah, I remember you, and be there and here and there and here and there. It's just like, was my awareness so low with all this stuff that I didn't even see that, and I thought Matt was just this great guy from the start. But you're saying you've made so much growth even since then. That like
A huge
March 2017, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like in the last 12 months I've grown quite a bit. Yep. I've like, you know,
Yeah, hang around Thalia for a bit. She'll pretty much like go, yeah, I feel like there's this going on or whatever, like or this or that, and she'll pull you up on something, and like it can be very funny, confronting. Like even times where like I'd just done stuff with Matt around the house, I had no idea that I was pandering to him, and she'll be like, yeah, look, I feel like you guys have this addiction with each other where, you know, you leave things around and she picks up after you and whatever, like, you know, it's good to have people around like that, like, just like, pick up on things and you're like, oh, well, I'm trying to get Matt's approval, leave me alone, like.
But yeah, like, you know, spending time around people who have a desire to love and a desire for peace is a great thing, because you will get feedback from them and stuff like that as well, you know, like, and like, I'm going to continue, but yeah. Honouring the principle of preclusion. So that means when you have an error in your soul about a certain issue, you will never have the truth in your soul about that issue until the error is released. So the truth and the error can't exist in your soul at the same time about the same issue. The existence of one precludes the existence of the other in the same position. So don't kid yourself and think that you've got all this truth in your heart. When you've got all the error still in your heart, although you're learning about it intellectually, be real with yourself about it. And be excited that you're learning about it and it's making you feel passionate, and you're growing a desire to have that truth into your soul. And you're growing a desire to confront error inside of your soul. This is all wonderful things. But the worst thing, not the worst, but one of the not so good things that we can do is, like, let's say an issue is like a room in a house and it hasn't really been cleaned out yet and it hasn't really been like redecorated, and we just go, oh yeah, cool, got it, and then we just shut the door and lock the key and we say, yep, that room's fine, I'll move on to the rest of my house. But that room's still got all this stuff inside it and it's leaking out through under the door and causing all these problems in your house. There's stench coming through it, and there's like this dirtiness and all these little creepy crawlies coming out, making shitty problems in your life. You know? You gotta go back and open the door and be like, oh. It's like when you like leave a container of food in the fridge for like 6 months and then you pull it out and you're like, what is this? What a monstrosity. Like, you know, it's really good to go back over and pull things out and be like, oh crikey, clearly there's error here because look at the creation. That's preclusion, you know, like don't kid yourself. But the good thing is, like, once you receive God's truth about something in your heart, it's there. You got it. And that also is the prerequisite for you receiving more of God's love. Alright, this is a big one. A passion for holding error as responsible for pain. Never truth. So error is responsible for all of your pain. Your error is the cause of your pain. Your desire to hold on to your error is the only cause of your pain. Truth never causes pain. You know? Although it's slightly different, they wrote this beautiful song called Love Never Hurts. You know? It's kind of along the same lines, that like we want to be like love hurts, love does this. It doesn't. You know? Who feels that like truth is responsible for pain sometimes? What happens often is the eventual revealing of error in the form of truth exposes a whole bunch of pain. But the pain was caused by the error. So me lying about my sexuality with my ex-wife, you know, me lying about addictions, you You know, things like pornography and stuff like that, like lying about those things. And then, you know, like her finding out it wasn't the truth that caused the pain in her and in me. It was all the lies. It was all the deception. You know, it was the untruth. That's what caused all the pain. The truth was the loving thing. But often, you know, like if you've lied to someone, for instance, let's say you've lied to someone, or you've misled people, or you've done certain like devious things in your life, and trust me, well, everyone does to some extent on earth at the moment, I feel, except for a very small number of people who really love truth. You know, because there isn't really that many people on the planet who really love truth. You know, when you then go to the person and say, hey, actually, when we were 7, you know, I did this to you, like I like stole like all of your favorite toys, and then I put them in a pile and I burned them all because I was so jealous of you. You know, let's say we did that, you know, and then you tell the person, they burst into tears and they start crying. You know, there's the error that causes the pain, not the truth. And when you give the gift of truth to another person, you set them free. Because if they don't know the truth, how can they make an informed decision about anything? They can't. You're taking that away from them. You're manipulating them. Ooh. Yeah. So
If you did something like when you were 5 to like, say, like a 4 or 3-year-old, you know, like, do you need to like
would be loving, would be really loving to let them know that happened to them. Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least a message them to say, hey, look, you know, something happened when we were really little. It involved you and it involved me, and if you'd like, I can give you the details of it. Give you an opportunity. Even that's great, you know. Then it's up to them whether they want to open the Pandora's box of all the pain that they might be in, or they're likely to be in, guys.
It's like a fight. So at that age.
Not saying that it's that you, just the fact that it happened, because there wouldn't have been much of like failures, will, and desire involved with that. You know, like a 5-year-old, like there's very little of your will that's engaged compared to like a 15 or 30. Right? Yeah. You don't really have a heap to apologise for at 5 in terms of something that you've done. That's something. A passion for never settling for a state of lack of truth. Often what we're willing to settle, we're willing to be like, oh, I'll just settle that I don't know the truth about that. I'll just settle for not knowing. Make sense? Like, I'll survive, I can live with not knowing about that truth, that's fine. We do this often. I can live with not knowing whether I was sexually abused or not. I'll be alright. You know? Oh, I can live with not knowing whether the person I'm with is my soulmate or not. I can live with that. Is it? Is it fine? Yeah. How long do we want to remain in a state of error, like a lack of truth about something? You know, as our hunger for truth gets stronger, we'll be like, I want to know, I want to know, I want to know, I want to know. You know, like I want that in my heart. I desire, I need to know this truth. Like, how much cooler is, and you know the faith's going to grow because you've been doing the process for a while. So you'll be like, how much cooler is my life going to get when I know the truth about this? When it's not a question anymore. When every time this situation comes up, I'm like, bam, lam, lam, just not from here. Yeah. How you going? You're good at.
I'm just kind of hearing everything. I'm like, what the hell has this got to do with me?
Yeah. If you want, you can continue to sit there if you want, but I feel like it might even be worthwhile like maybe going for a little bit of a feel if you want. It's up to you, but actually just feeling that, like, what the hell does this have to do with me? I feel like that's kind of your attitude at the moment about it. And it's part of sincerity. Yeah.
Have you ever interpreted God's truth and then got it wrong?
Yep. Yep.
So what happens there, you know?
Well,
'Cause it's
the
like-
law of attraction will eventually demonstrate that you made a mistake.
Okay.
Yeah. And often we go, oh, now I can't trust it.
Yeah.
No. You deliberately deceived yourself about, I deliberately deceived myself about some truth of God that I wanted, particularly when it's about me personally,
Yeah.
or about my relationship to someone else, that I wanted to be in denial.
Yeah. Because that's what I'm saying. One, that's what I'm scared of, to get it wrong. But two, also that, like,
Yeah.
if we are to receive truth from God,
Yeah.
one, are we in a state and condition of love, and is our soul have that removal of error there to receive that truth?
So we're in a
First
state
thing.
of humility.
Yeah.
So in order for because we're going to talk about that after
Yes.
this. So we're going to have to feel like release the error to be able. So once we've felt everything about that that we have inside of us about that issue, we are in a state of complete humility about it.
Yeah. And then
Yep.
and then on top of that, secondly,
Yep.
how do we know if our God truth radar is accurate? You know, if we were to receive emotional feedback.
Because your law of attraction will change over time, and how you feel permanently inside of yourself will change.
Yes.
That's how you know.
But wouldn't you have thought that the first time as well? And at least
No, but eventually it'll be demonstrated to you
Okay.
because the law of attraction is always exposing error.
Because it's sort of like,
So
Is
I've
this
done,
truth?
I've done a thought something was truth and deluded myself into thinking it was truth.
that's what I mean.
Right? And then eventually the error was like demonstrated to me to such a point, to such a degree that I just couldn't say that it's not true.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't hang on to being like, yeah, I got it right. I'm like, oh fuck,
Okay.
this keeps happening. Back to the drawing board. And like sometimes when like you're so certain and you're so passionate about it and it's convincing to others, and then you're like, you know.
It's all like trusting on your faith, but two.
Well, what would have happened is somewhere along the way of your journey of going through humility is you decided to take a U-turn and then demand to yourself and the world that you went all the way to the bottom.
Yes.
And you released the course. You know, when actually, and that's that part of it. You might have been feeling, you got to a certain point, something that you refused to feel, and then you just created a virtual reality of yourself, and you're like, la, 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 la. This is not, you know? And it's just a facade, man, actually. And you engaged your will, you made a choice, even if you don't want to admit it, you made a choice to do that detour. And to create a false version of yourself. And so at some point, you will realize, oh, wow, I was in denial of this, but I chose to do that. So it won't remain a mystery and a secret forever. You will actually realize the moment that you chose to delude yourself.
So I guess the law of attraction is sort of that magnifying glass to check up on us where the error was it that you didn't, the law of attraction will tell us whether we didn't get to the root cause of it. The law of attraction will tell us when we have deluded ourselves into thinking that this is God's truth, but really it's not.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's the wonderful thing about the law of attraction, just keeps coming. Yeah. So there is no danger of you getting something wrong and then having it define the rest of your life.
Sorry, say that again. There is no danger of me getting it wrong and having that define the rest of my life.
Yeah. So there is no danger of you making a mistake here and then living as if that mistake is truth. You know, if you are willing to engage the law of attraction, right? Then that will never happen. You'll never get stuck in an error believing it's true for the rest of existence. You will never do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
So it's scary though.
Because it can feel scary, like fuck, you know.
Because you have to trust yourself to that point. That's what I'm afraid of. Like, do I trust my own?
Yeah, and yes, trust yourself. Like, if you really believe it, yeah, sure, go for it. But be open, and this is something that I'm really proud about. It's one of my favorite qualities, that I'm willing to be proven wrong. I'm open to being proved wrong. I mean, sometimes when I first receive it, I get a bit scared, and sometimes I get like I still to some extent get defensive and titchy. But pretty soon afterwards, I reflect and connect emotionally, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm near here.
Yeah.
I can feel resistance. If I'm in resistance, it means I'm in error. Okay. And engage where I'm at and just go for it, whatever that is. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. I think, what time are we at?
It's almost 10:30.
So it's been pretty well 2 hours. Okay, well, do you mind if we just finish truth?
Yeah, just finish it.
Yeah, and we'll do humility next week.
Yeah.
Because that's a big subject, eh? Yeah. So, this is a really big one. Oh, no, okay, so the one before it's a really big one too. A passion for having all personal error exposed, challenged, and removed. So all the error that you have inside of you, developing a passion for it being challenged. Well, no, first for it being exposed in you, then for you challenging it and the willingness to have it challenged, and then eventually having it removed. You removing it and engaging God and asking God for assistance to remove error from you, from your soul, which God does. Yeah, to be like one of my jobs is I'm an error remover. That's what I do. Like, this is one of my passions. I'm on the hunt for error, and that I'm going to challenge my error. My passion is I challenge error in myself, in others. I'm going to challenge it, and my passion is I'm an error remover now. Like, I'm a get it out of my soul person. This is part of this passion that I'm developing that now defines who I am. I feel like that one for me is the removal of error still needs a lot of work. All right. A passion for seeking truth, truly longing for it as an emotional expression of your soul. So that's kind of like what I was talking about, when you get to the point when you feel that in a moment you're like, I want the truth now, like, please. It's such an emotional feeling. And you will feel when you start to connect to God about that, and you will start to feel feelings and things from God, right? When you're in that really like humble place of being like, please, now I want it. Like, please give it to me. Please give me the truth. Please, I want the truth about this. Like, please, can I have it? Like I desire this truth now, and to have that longing, long for the truth, long to have the truth about what kindness towards children looks like, right? Long to have that truth in my heart. I really want it. I feel like often our want for truth is dishwater. It's not like super crazy, extra sparkly purple jelly. It's like dishwater instead of being like this amazing thing that it can be, right?
Purple jelly.
Yeah, sparkly purple jelly. Like this incredible, beautiful thing. Yeah. Right. A passion for the law of cause and effect, and the desire to discover causes. Mm-hmm.
I heard a comment you made last week about engaging humility with effects versus engaging humility with causes, right? And causes is the key one.
Yeah, causes is the key, but you start at the effect.
Okay.
But you have a passion for causes. You have a passion for the truth of causation.
How do you know when you've engaged that humility with the cause? Without, because that'd
It's
be
the same question as the one you asked before. Everything changes. You
law of
change,
attraction, right?
Law of attraction changes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, forever.
Okay.
If it ever reverts back, you didn't. There's still error inside of you.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is like a really big one, I feel. Because I feel like when you start talking about God, about why, and this is part of your desire for truth, right? You're like, why does this happen? Why am I doing this? Why do I feel this? Why is this? Why is that? What's the reason why? What am I really getting at here? What am I trying to get, God? Like, why am I doing this? Why do I feel this? Why do I always project this? God's like, you're saying the magic word, you know? Because you pray to God, you're like, God, like, you know, please fix my son's broken heart. Oh, his you know, his lover, blah blah blah, or you know, please bring us enough money to survive, and you know, like, if you turn around and be like, God, why don't I have any money? God's like, yes. Now we can deal with the cause. So when you start asking, you know, when you start engaging God about why, big things are going to happen in your life, like absolutely, like big things. How cool is that? Why? Cause. Because this is a cause of that, but then there's an original cause as well, like way back, like the core issue, like the little P that's inside of you. Like pop this bitch out. You know? Yeah. Connect to that terribly damaged little child. You know? Or the moment where you went, fuck it. Because sometimes the cause isn't something that happened to you in childhood, it's just you developed a desire off your own back because you were exploring and checking out different things, and then you went something and you tried some kind of addiction and you liked it, and it wasn't even necessarily related to much that happened in your childhood and past, and then you just developed a desire to grow that passion, twisted passion now. So that's possible as well. When I heard that from Jesus, I was like, so you're saying that like some of the unloving things that I do, like I can't turn around and be like yeah, like some of them are like you, like 100% you. Not 100%, because if you were never in a state of error, you wouldn't have probably gone and done any of those things. But like the huge, overwhelming majority of certain problematic behavior and feelings and desires that you have are, it's all you, actually. You did it. You're doing it, you're growing it. This might not be a question I can answer, just because go ahead, but...
Oh, I thought you like in terms of time or... Okay. I was just going to say like, so if you, even like, for example, if you got an addiction that you developed at a young age,
Yep.
You know, through childhood and stuff.
Yep. Often addictions are developed in young ages. I feel like often they're quite connected to causative things inside of our soul.
Causative, okay.
Yeah.
Then that's the answer. I don't really think.
Yeah. I don't know. See, like I don't know if that's an always thing.
Yeah, because I was just thinking like.
Mostly.
You might
But
have-
there can be some exceptions to that pattern, but probably a person who doesn't have much of a developed will probably wouldn't, but a child who has quite a developed will might.
Because I was just thinking if you developed.
Yeah, because they're making more independent choices.
Yeah.
Whereas for yourself, for instance, there wasn't much of that going on. Like there even a sense that there was such a thing as an independent person to make independent choices.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
We're almost there, guys. We're getting there. Sorry. Are you cool with that? Yeah, okay. Alright. A passion for God's truth about God. to actually have a passion about who God is and what the truth about God actually is, and engaging God to be like, can you show me what you're really like? For most people, that's a terrifying proposition, because you're like, I don't know what this motherfucker could be like. He'll fucking kill me. If I can do all these fucking, you read the Bible, you read some other fucking religious text, it's a fucking nutcase, man. The fuck? You know? Like, I'm gonna trust this. I fucking can't even see what you care about me. You're manifesting. You gotta like. Are you gonna actually talk to like? You're not here. I don't see you around. Right? Often we go like shh.
Can go the opposite though. It's all right.
Yeah.
In the sense, like, you know, like me being so like heavily Christian most of my life, like.
You've never been Christian, Nikki.
But yeah, but I still followed a religion.
No, you followed your dad's rules.
Yeah. And his interpretation of the religion, yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Because I'm just saying that because like for me, like it's still very hard for me to comprehend that God is male, female. Doesn't make sense, like feminine,
Oh,
masculine.
okay. This is a good example. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Saying
Okay,
like,
right, yeah.
I always like I still say he.
Yeah.
And when you say she,
We were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
like when he
Yeah.
says she, I still like
You
I'm
like.
still a bit weird about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
Yeah.
women are nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, because my
Yeah.
belief is women are nothing.
Yeah. We're not nothing. Women are not nothing.
No, I don't. Like, at a soul level, I don't know that.
No.
Yeah.
Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you're nothing, Nikki.
Mm.
God feels that very much. You know? A passion for the conscience. I feel like we skipped over that a little bit. Sorry. God's truth about God. Like, because it's such a big thing. Like literally you can be like, through nature, you can be like, God, through nature, can you please show me some of the truth about you? Like, oh my God, you're abundant, you're generous, you're colourful, you're creative, you're multi-layered, you know? You have systems that fit together immaculately and perfectly, you know? Damage is always repaired. Things that are dead become turned into things that are alive. Like, you start to see all these principles just looking in nature. And this is what Jesus did in the first century, right? Spent a lot of time looking at nature with a desire to be like, oh, what's God's nature? What's your truth about you? I mean, you can ask God directly as well. But, you know, I learned a lot about like God's truth about God by looking at his children and seeing how fucking amazing and beautiful they are. And being like, oh, I'm starting to understand more about you now, God. But seeing kids, how beautiful they are. But often I'm just like thanking God. I'm just like, thank you for making this person like.
Yeah, I love what AJ said about why God made gay people.
Why did he? Why?
Because it was for variety, to make so that it's like, imagine if God only made one type of fruit, an apple, like say an apple tree.
Yeah.
Then you would never appreciate the
That-
beauty of
yeah.
diversity and
Yeah.
difference and
Mm.
yeah. So I thought that was really beautiful, that God wanted variety of
Yeah.
people and personalities
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a bit resistant to that. Sorry. I realize on the walk here today that I'm really enraged that God made me gay, just because of the treatment that I got from the world. And I'm so fucking angry that he did that to me, and that I had to be put here and live through torture and abuse and everything. So, yeah. Thanks for repeating it. See, it's law of attraction, right? It's like, yeah, I think you got away with that. Now I know what God's truth, right? So I'm like, error. And God's like, well, I'm going to find a way for that truth to come to Matt about this. Because he has a desire for truth and he's feeling around the error now. And he's starting to realise, oh, he's real rageful about this. Well, that's the law of attraction is just going to bring like the actual truth, you know? That this is a beautiful, diverse thing. I can't even say it. I can't say it.
variety.
Oh, that's gonna be me tonight. I'm gonna go for a cry in the bash in the park or something. Oh man. Shit. Okay. A passion for the conscience, a desire to trust in, obey, and act on the conscience regardless of the apparent cost. There's been a number of times where I've got very specific information from the conscience about whether this was loving or not, and I went, yeah, fuck you, and I did what I wanted anyway. Trust me, when you do that, you do not know the cost. You think you know the cost, and you think you know the benefit. When you start to emotionally connect to what it really was, you really, really, really feeling really regretful and very remorseful that you didn't listen to the conscience when you had the chance to, and that you didn't obey it. It's connected to honouring God's truth over your own. These fit together, right? Hi, Kate. Yeah, it's good to see more of you. So this is a big one. Still the same point. A trust of God's good intentions in sharing his feelings and answering your questions. So when God answers you via the conscience, and when God gives you information via the conscience, he's got your best interests at heart. He's not trying to fuck with your life, he's trying to help your life. You're trying to fuck with your life. You're trying to fuck with other people's lives. God's like, really desires to help. Via the conscience, via truth. Who feels that God always has good intentions towards them?
I wanted to put my hand up. I was like, no, you're just lying.
Yeah.
My heart doesn't really believe that.
I mean, I just proved it then when I was like, you made me gay. You see, I don't trust that God's intention was positive when he did that. Yeah. If yeah. Okay, we're at you, so almost at Z. We're almost there, guys. A passion to develop the inquiring and curious nature of your soul. Who kind of had some of their curiosity stamped out like a bug when they were little? A bit. Yeah, no, I did. Gosh, I used to ask a lot of questions. The only time I stopped asking questions is when I found out about divine truth, because then I didn't want to apply the answers. But I eventually got to the answers that I wanted, and was like, I got no more questions now. Shit. I don't want the answers, I already got. Did I make these answers go away? Oh God, now I'm going to have to do something about the answers that I got. You know, but I'm just, yeah. So, you know, God put curiosity in all of us. It's one of our qualities. Every soul has curiosity. So you know, it must be one of God's qualities as well. I don't know if curiosity is a quality of God's, because God just knows, but
It's definitely part of the real self, I believe,
Yes.
that God created
yes.
in every soul.
Yes.
Well, I thought the curiosity is so then you discover, but once you know, then you have the quality of knowing, like God.
Yeah, but you always have things that you don't know yet. So there'll always be, even when you're at one with God, even when you're at one with your soulmate, there'll be things that your soul doesn't know yet. And curiosity and an inquiring nature will help lead the way down that, right? So when you meet a person, like when I meet a person, like I'm so curious about everyone when I meet them. I'm like, what instrument do you play? I'm like, right, okay. And you got a sister? I'm wanting to feel that person and then talk to them about that person, talk to that person about them, and then be like, like, what's going on with your mum? Like, every person I meet, I start talking about their family, or I talk about their passions or their desires or their personality or what they're doing, and then I want to know people. I want to know about soil structure and dirt and minerals and music and God. I'm curious about God. Truth about sexuality, not curious. Not curious at all. But eventually, the more of this curious spirit that you develop inside of yourself, even the areas that you probably shit, your curious nature will win over in the end, and you'll be like, well, I suppose a little peek won't hurt. I do want to know, it might be something. Right? Eventually we'll look. Curiosity didn't kill the cat, someone killed the cat. Something happened when the cat died. It wasn't curiosity, but the world tells you, don't you be curious about things that you shouldn't know, young lady. Don't you ask questions. Don't you do that. Don't you investigate things that are private. Don't you be inappropriate about things that you want to know. Don't you touch yourself like that. Don't you, right? There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in the world, right? How dare you ask about that? Why are you fat? Little kid, why are you so fat? It's curious. They want to know, right? That person will be like, I don't know. Most people will be like, I don't know why I'm fat. If they did know, then they'll be like, for whatever reason, I've got a lot of sexual terror, and this is the way to try and get all this weight on, so then people don't notice me in a sexual way anymore, and I feel safe.
Antonella said that's what happened to me.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So that's curiosity. When we've had our fingers burned before, it's very easy to be like, oh. So sad for us all to be like that. To be like, I want to be friends with this person. What am I thinking, We just cancel out our curiosity. What the shiz? What are we doing? What's wrong with us? The spelunky, man. Hi. Yeah. All right.